Thank you, Chair. I'm sure so you would all appreciate that this regulation is about the operation of the drone and not some of the other elements around the drone. Because from a member of the Defence Select Committee, and I'm sure Mr. Schulman, you probably know where I'm going to go with this, given that China is a major producer, the United States Department of Homeland Security has actually recently accused Chinese-made drones of sending sensitive flight data back to their manufacturer. I'm sure you would like to maybe disagree with the United States Department of Homeland Security. I'm not saying that I do agree with it. I'm just putting it out there because it's a major concern for those of us on the Defence Select Committee.
So if I may take that. So we actually agree. I think I know the memo you're talking about from a few weeks ago. That's the Department of Homeland Security relating not to any specific company but to drones manufactured in China as a whole. Our company is based in China. We agree with and are aligned with that memo because it outlines the practices for keeping data safe and secure when the drone is used in a critical function, a sort of security, high security environment. And actually, we've been working hand in hand with agencies in the U.S. government to develop what those standards are and to make sure that we meet them. So we actually have a solution and are totally in alignment with all of the points in that DHS memo as to the considerations for using a drone in a critical environment.
And just finally then, Chair, if you would forgive me, is DJI bound by the Republic of China's rules and citizen support of the national intelligence activities?
Are we bound?
Bound by those rules of the People's Republic of China?
We
as a Chinese company?
So as the manufacturer, we manufacture in accordance with the rules and regulations in each country where we sell products.
And those in which you manufacture them?
The factory being in China, yes, it complies with Chinese law.
And therefore your company is bound by those regulations supporting the national intelligence activities of the People's Republic of China?
I would have to understand more about the nature of your question.
The requirement to cooperate with security services, for example, in China. Do you understand that as binding you to meet Chinese intelligence requirements of you to provide them with information?
Okay, with user information.
Yeah.
So we do comply with subpoenas, and this is true of any tech company. If we have information, for example, we've cooperated in the investigation of a collision between a DJI drone and a helicopter in New York City. That was a cooperative investigation with the NTSB.
We're talking about data being transferred from use within the United States or across the European Union back to the manufacturer in the People's Republic of China, commensurate with Chinese regulations on supporting national intelligence activity. Could you advise me whether or not your company supports the People's Republic of China's regulation in terms of that piece of legislation passed by the Congress of the People's Republic?
There are two aspects to this. There's the data that we have or don't have, and then there's what we make available upon a legal government request. So in the first instance, we do not have user data unless the user syncs that data with our systems. And if you go back a couple years, we did a third-party independent security review of our technology, which confirms that our users have control over the data that they generate using the drone. We've also gone further than that. We've implemented what we call local data mode. So effectively, you can take your drone, and if you're operating it in a way that's private, you can turn off any transmission between the drone and the internet, including our servers. Furthermore, we've also created Flight Hub Enterprise Edition, which provides commercial companies with added data management tools, as well as the government edition, again developed in collaboration with U.S. government agencies that have those concerns.
Mr. Schulman, we're not in the United States, so is it a simple yes or no? If someone turns on that data, plug in their drone, downloads data from it, therefore your company is able to send that information back to the manufacturer in Xinjiang?
We are the manufacturer in Shenzhen.
So that's a yes?
To whether we're the manufacturer, we are the manufacturer.
So that's a yes?
We are the manufacturer.
Well, maybe you want to say yes or no.
Martin, you're asking about whether they could be required to send it to the Chinese government.
Well, first of all, let's get to the point where people are sending that back, willingly or unwillingly, back to the manufacturer in Xinjiang. And you've not answered the first question in terms of DJI being commensurate or implementing the legislation of the People's Republic of China in terms of supporting national intelligence activity, which includes handing over data, any type of data requested by the People's Republic of China.
If the data requested is pursuant to a legal request
within the People's
country,
Republic of China, not within the European Union, not within the United Kingdom or the United States, but within the People's Republic of China.
If the data is requested pursuant to law in any country, including China, we would then provide it in accordance with law.
So
I would need a specific example.
So in other words, there is a potential risk to our national security if the Chinese state requests you to provide them with data from usage here.
I would disagree, because we don't have the data that puts the security of this country at risk.
How do you know that?
Because every user of ours has control over what data they send to us. So if you're operating our drone in a way that's critical, if you aren't just taking a picture of your garden in your backyard, but you're using it to collect information about your power plant or something sensitive, don't send us the data.
You have no means of accessing that data.
That's correct.
And so you would disagree, would you forgive me, Chair, you would disagree with the Immigration and Customs Enforcement Agency in Los Angeles. It says that DJI was selectively targeting government and privately owned entities within the United States critical infrastructure and law enforcement sectors to expand its ability to collect and exploit sensitive United States data.
We don't just disagree. We hired an independent firm to prove the negative, and I welcome you to read the Kivu report that we released about a year and a half ago that disproves all of the allegations in that memo, which, by the way, was not an official release of ICE or DHS. That was one or two agents in the field office in Los Angeles. It was never approved as a release of that agency. Nonetheless, we knew we had to disprove it, and we did.
And I'm not disagreeing or agreeing with their assumption, but going back to the main premise, and you forgive me as a Defence Select member, that you are bound by, as a manufacturer within the People's Republic of China, with supporting the national intelligence activities of that state.
We respond to legal requests wherever we're required to respond.
We'll leave it there. Thank you very much.
Quick question from Gavin and then Steve.
Just very quickly, on the settings of any drone, is the default position that that data transfers until you choose to turn it off, or do you proactively have to choose to turn it on?
No, the default is off, and again, I welcome you to read the Kivu report. We're happy to provide a copy to all of you. There is no default on data transmission. And the way our technology works is you fly the drone, you can take the pictures or your video or do what you want with it. If you want to back up your records for purposes of maintaining a fleet or just as a backup record to your activities, you may choose to do so, but you don't need to. And in fact, you can turn off all of the data transmission if you want additional protection. So there's no default sharing of any kind.
But if you want to back up that data for your own purposes, does that enable you as a company to access it?
That backup of the data goes to servers within the country in which the user is located.
That you control that you control, or that the individual who is backing it up controls?
Yeah, in Flight Hub Enterprise Edition and a Government Edition, that data goes to your own servers. So customers who need that added assurance can have it.
So a company that chooses to back up data for its own purposes doesn't allow you to access that data?
The user has complete and total control over the data that they collect.
So the answer is no, you can't access that data if they choose to back it up?
It depends on where they back it up. So I'd want to be precise and understand exactly what data we're talking about and what type of user and which solution of ours they're using, because there isn't just one.
But it sounds to me like there are circumstances in which a user backs up data which you then have access to, which could then be required of you to supply to the Chinese state.
Well, we do provide support and technical assistance for our products. So a consumer product that's being used in a non-sensitive application would have the capability of backing up records to us if the user chooses, and that would then make those records available in various different.
But if it was in a sensitive environment and they wanted to back up, are there any circumstances in which you could access that data?
Well, we would not recommend a user who's operating in a sensitive facility or operation to back up data with us. And in fact, we have the tools available for that user to control the data and to keep it secure in alignment with the DHS memo that recently came out.
Thank you.